Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this latest on the Corona Diaries, I'm just going to talk a little bit about the impact of the lockdown, which is probably not actually going to be a lockdown when it comes to it. Certainly, it hasn't started that way. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, then please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So, the impact on me personally, not talking about channel affairs, is going to be significant. It's ultimately going to affect all of us, and I think some worse than others. From my point of view, you could look at the situation and say, well, this is my full-time job. I'd be at home anyway. I have a long, experience of being an online gamer as well in terms of my hobbies. Although I've been moving more away from those recently, but I have those. So I have no problem keeping myself occupied. And of course, my primary job is done here. And even the part-time teaching, which I'm still doing to keep my hand in, I'm able to manage remotely. In fact, actually doing this helps that because I can do little video lessons and communicate with my students quite easily. On a personal level, it is much more difficult because the rules that were laid out by Boris Johnson on Monday and have been clarified by Michael Gove since as well mean that essentially I can't see my girlfriend. There'll be other people in this boat. In fact, as I was saying to her, there will be people dealt a much worse hand out of this crisis than we are having. But it is tough. It's not very nice at all. And it got me to thinking, because what you naturally do in a situation like this is you try and think ways around it. So I might reason, remember, because you start to think about, what's the reason for this? Well, it's to stop infection. Well, I'm here on my own. We're not talking about if I was to see my girlfriend, go into her household and then bringing back an infection to infect others in my household, and then maybe someone from that household going to see someone else and we keep spreading it. I don't have the infection as far as I know. I'm not exhibiting symptoms. That doesn't mean to say I don't have it. And no one in my girlfriend's household is going out and seeing other people either. So it wouldn't actually increase it. And you start to think of these things, but ultimately that's not right. I certainly wouldn't have the moral authority to have a go at lots of people around the country flouting these rules if I did it myself. But that's what people will do. People will try and justify it. You see it all the time. People speeding down the motorway. Well, of course, it's right that most people should follow the speed limit, but I'm special. I'm a better driver. Or, yes, I know that parking space is for people with disabilities, and I don't have any. But you know what? This is an emergency. I need a sandwich. Something like that. People will justify these little, rule breaks all the time. And because these measures are going to demand such a massive change to the pattern of life, you can bet your arse people will just be flouting them and trying to justify it in their own heads. We already saw it, when supposedly, pubs were closed down last week, but they continued to open. Now, that's not just talking about individual members of the public ignoring the advice. This is businesses being told to close and not closing. What's happened to them? Not as far as I can tell, not a lot. Maybe councils have got involved, but there's nothing really happened. And the same thing is now true. For example, we know that shops like retail that's non-essential should be closing down. So if you have a shop and it sells non-essential items, or specifically doesn't sell any essential items, because some shops will sell both, though they still get to be open. Supermarkets sell some non-essential stuff, but they sell essential stuff, so they're staying open. Hardware stores, same sort of thing. They're staying open. But then people go, and so what about online retailers? There seems to be some confusion over this. So I, get a fair amount of stuff online, and I've had some suppliers, some, companies emailing to say, until they're told otherwise, they're remaining open for business. Whereas I had someone ring me today. I expected this because I expected them all to close. My reading of the guidance was, retail, non-essential retail closes down. So I ordered a bookcase, and it was to be delivered in 2 or 3 weeks now. And they've rung me today to say they're not going to be able to just yet. It'll be postponed. As soon as they're allowed to carry out normal activities, then they'll be back. So they've taken the view that they have to close that, even though this is not just a case of shutting a shop down, but this is like an online system. I ordered it online, it would be delivered to me. But no, they've taken it as I would have taken it. No, sorry, we have to close. But other retailers haven't. So it's also a bit confused, and the same sort of rules are applying to individuals as well. And you know, and because of this confusion, people will exploit that. It's a bit like any parent will know this. I'm not a parent, but I am a teacher. I've seen the same behaviour. And not that this is child. I always say there's no real such thing as childish behaviour. It's human behaviour that most of us grow out of because we're encouraged out of it by our parents. But it is essentially human behaviour. So you present two different sets of values to a child, and they will pick the one that suits them. And it's that simple. They will choose the one that is easiest for them, which is why you have to present a united front to a child. But it's the same thing for people, really. You know, if there's any sort of confusion at all, people will interpret the rules themselves. Like I said, I would love to interpret the rules and say, well, there's no real harm in me visiting my girlfriend if she's happy with that, and I think she would be. Because when I come back to a household where there is only me, no one else, only me. But that's not the intention. And when you looked at the follow-up advice from Michael Gove, he was talking about, because people were saying, so what about a child with separated parents? Are you saying that they can't see one of their parents? So the advice now has come back, no, they can't. To begin with, it was, yeah, they have to stay in their normal house. So that means the other parent, you know, they won't be able to see them while this is going on. Now they've changed their mind and said it is. And that's another problem. This is a bit, again, coming back to this childish behaviour. I would always say, one phrase as a parent or a teacher you must remove from your vocabulary altogether is, oh, go on then. Because if someone, you know, asks thing and you say no, it has to be no. Because if you ever go, oh, go on then that'll be it forever after. They'll just ask for more and more and more. Give them an inch and they'll take a mile, as they say. I think that's what they say. Something like that. And the same thing has happened here. They've said no. Probably no was the wrong answer, but was it? It was probably quite tricky. Again, this is reflective of the fact they're not really thinking it through. So then people will be going, so let's say someone in my position that wasn't prepared to go, no, I need to have the moral authority to moan at people not following this, so I'm going to follow it to the letter, no matter how, you know, upsetting it is for me personally, and I hope I'm sure for my girlfriend. But someone else who was really trying to get around this would, I'm sure, absolutely justify it to themselves as well. You know, I'm not coming back to anyone else, so that web of infection isn't going to be carried on. So I'm just going to ignore it. It doesn't apply to me. You're going to get a lot of that sort of thinking, which means that although these measures will help, because a lot of people, such as myself, will go, well, fair enough, this is for a good purpose, we will follow these rules. Plenty of people won't, which means that it will be of limited effect. It will have an effect. It absolutely will have a beneficial effect, but it will be limited because not everyone is engaging in it. So then you'll have to have tougher measures. And those tougher measures may hurt the rest of us who were actually following these measures. You know, if they do have to set up roadblocks or something like that, as I was talking about in the other video. And so, yeah, I think we're going to enter a situation now where, although the government has still got plenty to be criticised about, they are now getting us to do what we need to do. The onus is on us as a society to actually do it. And frankly, there's going to be a lot of people who are not going to do it. And they're endangering the rest of us. So that's going to be the reality of life for a little while. We'll see how it goes in a few more days. Will more people in our communities, you know, make sure that others are actually following the rules? Are we going to sort of collectively turn around and not just expect the government to wave a magic wand, but turn around, take responsibility ourselves and say to people, will you stay indoors if you possibly can? Will you just do that? Because this is serious. But anyway, that's my experience so far. That's how it's going to be impacting me as well. Let me know how it's going to be affecting you as well. And I hope you found the video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, then please also click the Patreon link for details. And until next time, I'll see you later.